For 35 years, I thought I knew what friendship meant. Christine Walsh had been there for every milestone since we met in culinary school in 1989. She was my maid of honor, godmother to my son, and the person I turned to when my husband died 2 years ago. We built a restaurant empire together in Portland, 3 upscale establishments that had become fixtures of the city's dining scene. What I'm about to share with you destroyed not just our friendship and my business, but revealed that the woman I'd trusted most in the world had been planning my death for years. My name is Linda Morrison, and this is how I survived being murdered twice. It started on a Thursday morning in late October. I was recovering at home from what my cardiologist called a minor cardiac event. Nothing serious, he'd assured me, just stress and age catching up. I needed rest, maybe cut back on the 60-hour weeks I'd been pulling at the restaurants. I was 64, and maybe it was time to think about stepping back. Christine had been incredible, as always. She'd taken over daily operations at all 3 locations, brought me meals, and every morning for the past 2 weeks, she'd arrive at my house in the Pearl District with my favorite coffee. A special Ethiopian blend she ordered from a roaster in Seattle. She knew I was particular about my coffee. My late husband Michael used to joke that I loved a perfect espresso more than I loved him. Michael. His heart attack had come suddenly 2 years ago. One minute he was reviewing financial statements for our flagship restaurant, the next he was clutching his chest, falling. The paramedics said it was a massive coronary. He was only 66. The grief had nearly destroyed me, and Christine had been my rock through it all. That Thursday, I was dozing on my couch when I heard Christine's voice in my kitchen. She must have let herself in with her key. I was about to call out when I heard her voice change, that careful, warm tone she always used with me shifting into something else entirely. The timeline's perfect, Marcus. She had the cardiac event 2 weeks ago. Another month, maybe 6 weeks, and it'll look completely natural. Just like Michael. My blood turned to ice. I stayed absolutely still on the couch, hidden from the kitchen by the half-wall divider. How much are you giving her? A man's voice on speakerphone, tinny and distant. Same as Michael. Small doses in the coffee. Arsenic's beautiful that way. Mimics heart disease perfectly. The tremors started last week, and yesterday she told me she's having trouble focusing. Those are the neurological symptoms kicking in. I couldn't breathe. Michael. She was talking about Michael. My husband hadn't died of natural causes. Christine had murdered him. What about the son? Does Jason suspect anything? The man Marcus asked. Christine laughed. That sound would haunt me. Jason? Please. That boy worships me. He still calls me Aunt Christine. I've been managing his mother's books for 3 years now. He signs whatever I put in front of him. Once Linda's gone, I'll have him convinced to sell all 3 restaurants to my LLC. He'll think he's getting a fair price. He has no idea I've been systematically undervaluing the assets. She paused, and I heard water running. She was making more of that coffee, the coffee I drank every single morning. The insurance payout from Michael was $2 million, plus the life insurance on Linda is another $3 million. The restaurants are worth at least $8 million total, but I've cooked the books to make them look like they're worth maybe $4 million. Jason will think he's getting a good deal when I offer him $4.5 million. That's $13.5 million, Marcus. We can finally buy that place in Costa Rica and disappear. I need to transfer more money to the Cayman account, Marcus said. When can you move the next payment? I'll do it tomorrow from Linda's business account. She never checks. Jason handles all that, and like I said, he rubber stamps everything I tell him to. Christine's voice was moving closer to where I lay. I closed my eyes, forced my breathing to stay even. I'll bring her the coffee now. She should drink it while it's hot. The arsenic absorbs better in hot liquid. I heard her footsteps approaching, then stopping. Through my barely open eyelids, I saw her standing over me, holding a steaming mug. My favorite mug, the one Michael had given me for our 30th anniversary. She stood there for what felt like an eternity, just watching me. Sleep well, Linda, she whispered. Not much longer now. She set the mug on the coffee table inches from my face, then I heard her leave, locking the door behind her with her key. I lay there for another 5 minutes, paralyzed by terror and disbelief. 35 years. We'd built our lives together. I'd held her hand through 2 divorces. She'd held mine when Michael died, when Michael was murdered. By her. My cell phone was on the kitchen counter. I forced myself up, my legs shaking so badly I had to grip the furniture to stay upright. The coffee mug sat on my table, innocent and deadly. I grabbed my phone and called the one person Christine hadn't managed to completely manipulate away from me. My son Jason picked up on the second ring. "Mom? Are you okay? You sound terrible. I need you to come home. Right now. Don't call anyone. Don't tell Christine. Just come home." "Mom, what's going on?" "Your father didn't die of a heart attack, and neither am I." I hung up and stared at that coffee mug. All those mornings. All those carefully prepared cups. How long had she been doing this? Weeks? Months? Long enough for the symptoms to start. The tremors in my hands I'd blamed on stress. The confusion. The difficulty concentrating. The exhaustion that went beyond normal fatigue. I grabbed a Ziploc bag from the kitchen and carefully poured the entire mug of coffee into it, sealed it, and put it in my freezer. Then I took a photo of it. Evidence. Jason arrived 20 minutes later, still in his suit from his accounting firm downtown. He found me sitting at my kitchen table, that Ziploc bag in front of me. "Mom, you're scaring me." I told him everything. About the phone call I'd overheard, about Christine poisoning me, about Marcus and the Cayman accounts, and the plan to defraud him out of millions. I watched his face go from concern to confusion to denial. "That's impossible. Aunt Christine would never." "Mom, did the doctors say anything about the cardiac event affecting your cognition? Sometimes lack of oxygen to the brain can cause paranoia." "I'm not paranoid, Jason. I heard her. She said she's been giving me arsenic in my coffee, the same way she killed your father." "Dad died of a heart attack. I saw the death certificate. Arsenic poisoning mimics heart disease. She said that herself." I grabbed his hand. "Jason, I need you to believe me. I need you to help me. Please." He looked at the bag of coffee, then at me. His face was so much like Michael's it hurt. Okay, let's say this is real. What do we do?" "We need proof. Real, undeniable proof. I need you to test this coffee for arsenic, and I need you to look at the financial records she's been managing. Really look at them, with your accountant brain, not your I trust Aunt Christine brain." Something flickered in his eyes. There was something I noticed last month. In the accounts receivable for the Morrison Street location. Some invoices from a vendor I didn't recognize, but Christine said it was a new supplier for artisanal ingredients, that you'd approved it. I never approved any new suppliers. I pulled my laptop toward me. "Show me." We spent the next 3 hours going through financial records. What we found made the poisoning look almost simple in comparison. Christine had been embezzling from my restaurants for at least 5 years, maybe longer. She'd created fake vendors with business names that sounded legitimate. Columbia River Provisions, Pacific Northwest Specialty Foods, Cascade Artisan Meats. All of them were shell companies she controlled. Every month, she'd process invoices from these fake vendors. $3,000 here, $5,000 there. Amounts small enough not to raise flags but adding up to hundreds of thousands of dollars. The payments went to business accounts she'd opened using variations of my restaurant's names, then transferred to offshore accounts. "Jesus Christ," Jason kept saying. "Jesus Christ. She's stolen over $800,000. And that's just what we can see in the past 3 years. I felt sick. How many years has she been doing this, Jason? Since the beginning? He pulled up older files. His face went white. "Mom, there's a $500,000 life insurance payout here from 2 years ago, from Dad's policy. But I thought that money went to pay down the mortgage on the Morrison Street restaurant." "It did. That's what Christine told me. She handled all of it. I was too devastated to deal with paperwork. The mortgage was never that high." Jason's voice was shaking. "I reviewed the loan documents last year. The payoff was $200,000. Where did the other $300,000 go?" We searched for another hour. The money had gone into something called Morrison Legacy Trust. I'd never heard of it. "I need to make a call," Jason said. He stepped into the other room, and I heard him speaking in low, urgent tones. When he came back, he looked grim. "I called Tom Reeves. You remember him? From my office? He used to be with the FBI's Financial Crimes Unit before he became a forensic accountant. What did he say? He said don't touch anything else digitally. Christine might have alerts set up if we access certain accounts. He's coming over now with someone from the Portland PD White Collar Crimes Division, and he said we need to test that coffee immediately. Tom arrived within the hour with a detective named Sarah Chen and a mobile toxicology kit. While Detective Chen set up recording equipment in my living room, Tom tested the coffee. The results took 15 minutes. Arsenic, Tom said quietly. Enough in this single cup to cause serious organ damage. If you'd been drinking this daily for weeks. He didn't finish the sentence. Detective Chen looked at me with something between sympathy and urgency. Mrs. Morrison, we need to get you to a hospital now. We need blood tests to determine how much arsenic is in your system. But if I go to the hospital, Christine will know something's wrong. Good, the detective said. We want her to think that. We want her to think you're getting worse. But we need to know how bad the poisoning is, and we need to start chelation therapy immediately. Arsenic damage can be permanent. At the hospital, the blood tests confirmed what Tom's quick analysis had suggested. I had elevated arsenic levels consistent with chronic poisoning over several weeks, possibly months. The ER doctor who reviewed my cardiac event from 2 weeks ago looked at the new results and said grimly that what they'd thought was a heart issue had likely been acute arsenic toxicity. You're lucky, he said. Another few weeks and we'd be looking at organ failure. They admitted me overnight for chelation, treatment, and monitoring. Detective Chen stayed with me, along with Jason, planning our next steps. We need her to confess, Chen said. The arsenic in the coffee is evidence, but a defense attorney will argue someone else put it there. We need her to admit to what she's doing. I've been recording on my phone for years, I said. Voice memos, meeting notes. Christine knows I do it. She's seen me record restaurant consultations and vendor negotiations. If I call her and record the conversation, she won't think twice about me having my phone out. That might not be admissible, Chen warned. But it'll tell us what we're dealing with. And maybe she'll slip up, say something that gives us a path to more concrete evidence. The next morning, I was released from the hospital with strict instructions to avoid any food or drink not prepared by myself or Jason. Detective Chen had a plan. I was to return home, call Christine, and tell her I was feeling worse. She would undoubtedly come over with more coffee. We'd have the house wired with audio and video. Jason would be there, and we'd confront her with what we knew. But I had a better idea. I called Christine from the hospital parking lot. Jason held his phone, recording the call as backup. Christine? It's Linda. I'm sorry to bother you, but I'm feeling terrible. The doctors said my heart numbers are getting worse. They want to do more tests, but I'm so tired of hospitals. Could you come over? I need to talk to you about the restaurants. Of course, sweetheart. Her voice was so warm, so concerned. I'll come right over. Let me bring you some of that coffee you love. It'll make you feel better. That would be wonderful. Thank you, Christine. You're such a good friend. I almost vomited saying those words. An hour later, my house was wired with 3 hidden cameras and 4 audio recording devices, courtesy of Detective Chen's team. Jason and I waited in the living room. Chen and 2 other officers waited in my garage, listening through earpieces. Christine arrived with her usual bright smile and a thermos of coffee. She let herself in with her key, calling out cheerfully, "Linda, I brought your favorite." She stopped when she saw both Jason and me sitting together on the couch. Her smile flickered just slightly. "Jason, honey, I didn't know you'd be here. You should be at work." "I took the day off," Jason said. "We needed to talk to you, Aunt Christine, about the restaurants." "Of course." Christine set the thermos down and sat in the chair across from us. "What's going on? You both look so serious." "I need to ask you something," I said, keeping my voice level. "The Morrison Legacy Trust, what is it?" Something changed in her eyes. Just for a second. But I saw it. "Calculation. That's the trust your husband set up before he died, for estate planning purposes. Michael never mentioned any trust to me. He probably didn't want to worry you with details." She pulled out her phone. "I have all the paperwork if you want to review it." "I'd like that. I also want to review the vendor contracts for Columbia River Provisions, Pacific Northwest Specialty Foods, and Cascade Artisan Meats. I've never heard of these companies." Christine's smile stayed in place, but I saw her jaw tighten. They're specialty suppliers. I've mentioned them to you before. You approved all of them. I have no memory of that. Jason, do you have records of my approval? Jason opened his laptop. Actually, Aunt Christine, I've been going through the books. These companies don't seem to exist. Their business registrations are fake. The addresses listed are mail drop locations. And the account numbers where payments are sent all trace back to offshore accounts. Christine stood up. Her smile was completely gone now. I don't appreciate what you're implying. I'm not implying anything. Jason's voice was harder than I'd ever heard it. I'm stating facts. You've embezzled over $800,000 from my mother's restaurants. You've created fake vendors and fake trusts and fake invoices, and I think you did it to my father too. You ungrateful little. Christine caught herself, but that flash of rage told me everything. After everything I've done for this family, I've managed these restaurants for 30 years. I built this business as much as your mother did. You tried to poison me, I said quietly. The coffee, that special Ethiopian blend, it has arsenic in it, doesn't it? For the first time, Christine's mask fully dropped. She looked at me with something close to hatred. You have no idea what it's been like. 35 years of being your sidekick. Your second, Linda Morrison's talented friend. I was a better chef than you in culinary school, but you had Michael's money to open that first restaurant. I had nothing. So you killed my husband? My voice broke. Michael treated you like family. Michael was going to retire and sell the restaurants to some corporate chain. Did you know that? Christine's voice rose. 5 years of my life wasted, and he was going to sell to Red Lobster or some garbage like that. So yes, I gave him a little boost to his heart attack, made sure the family business would stay in the family, in your hands, where I could control it. You murdered my father, Jason said, standing. And you've been trying to murder my mother? Christine laughed. Actually laughed. Oh, Jason. Sweet, simple Jason. You signed off on every single fraudulent invoice. You're complicit in the embezzlement. Who do you think the police will believe? A trusted business manager or a son who's been rubber stamping theft for 3 years? There's arsenic in the coffee you brought today, I said. We tested it, and we tested my blood. I have arsenic poisoning. Chronic arsenic poisoning from the coffee you've been bringing me for weeks. You can't prove I put it there. Actually, we can. Detective Chen stepped out of the hallway, followed by 2 uniformed officers. Christine Walsh, you're under arrest for attempted murder, fraud, and embezzlement. We have your confession on tape and video. Christine turned to run, but there was nowhere to go. She looked at me one last time, and I saw not my friend of 35 years, but a stranger. Someone who'd smiled at my dinner table while planning my death. Someone who'd held me while I cried for a husband she'd murdered. You were always so naive, Linda. Always so trusting. That's why it was so easy. The police took her away in handcuffs, still talking, still trying to justify what she'd done. Detective Chen told us they'd also arrested Marcus Reeves, Christine's boyfriend, who'd been in on the scheme from the beginning. He'd been the one helping her set up the shell companies and offshore accounts. The next few hours were a blur of statements and evidence collection and phone calls to lawyers. Tom Reeves helped us secure all the business accounts and start the process of tracing every fraudulent transaction. It would take months to untangle the full scope of Christine's theft, but preliminary analysis suggested she'd stolen close to $2 million over the years, possibly more. But the financial crime almost didn't matter compared to the other discovery. At Detective Chen's urging, we requested an exhumation order for Michael's body. The autopsy results came back 3 weeks later. Elevated arsenic levels in his tissues, consistent with chronic poisoning over several months before his death. My husband hadn't died of a heart attack. He'd been murdered, slowly and deliberately, by someone he'd trusted. I sat in my kitchen the day we got those results, Jason beside me, both of us crying. For Michael, for the years of friendship that had been a lie, for the trust that had been weaponized against us. I'm so sorry, Mom, Jason kept saying. I should have looked closer at the books. I should have questioned things. I trusted her. We both did. I held my son's hand. She counted on that. On our love and trust. That's what made us vulnerable. The trial took 8 months. Christine's defense attorney tried to argue that the arsenic could have come from anywhere, that Christine's confession had been coerced, that the financial records were misinterpreted, but the evidence was overwhelming. The coffee tested positive for arsenic. My blood tests, the fake vendors, the offshore accounts with her name on them, the recorded confession, and Michael's exhumed body with arsenic in his tissues. The jury took less than 4 hours to convict her on all counts. Murder, attempted murder, multiple counts of fraud and embezzlement. The judge sentenced her to life in prison without possibility of parole. Marcus Reeves took a plea deal, testifying against Christine in exchange for 20 years. He admitted he'd helped her set up the financial fraud scheme and had known about the poisoning. He claimed he'd tried to talk her out of it, but the prosecutor shredded that defense with emails showing Marcus had actively encouraged Christine to speed up my death so they could access the insurance money faster. During the sentencing, I was allowed to give a victim impact statement. I stood in that courtroom and looked at Christine, really looked at her, for the last time. You took my husband from me. You took 35 years of friendship that I thought was real. You tried to take my life and my son's inheritance, but you didn't break me. You didn't destroy what Michael and I built, and you didn't destroy my family. Christine stared at the floor. She didn't look at me once. The restaurants are thriving now. Jason left his accounting firm to help me manage the business full-time. We promoted our sous chef, Maria, to head chef at the flagship location, and she's been nominated for a James Beard Award. We've recovered most of the stolen money through asset seizures and insurance claims, but the real healing has been slower. I had to go through months of chelation therapy to remove the arsenic from my system. The tremors eventually stopped. My mind cleared. The doctors say I'm lucky. The damage wasn't permanent. Trust, though, that's harder to recover. I find myself second-guessing people in ways I never did before. When someone's being especially nice, I wonder what they want. When an employee makes a suggestion, I verify it 3 times instead of just accepting it. Jason and I go to therapy together now. We talk about guilt and blame and how someone we loved could have done something so evil. He's been harder on himself than I could ever be. He thinks he should have seen the signs, should have caught the fraud earlier. But I remind him, and myself, that Christine was good at what she did. She spent 35 years cultivating trust. She knew exactly how to manipulate our love for her. That wasn't our weakness. That was her evil. Last week, on what would have been Michael's 69th birthday, Jason and I went to his grave. We brought his favorite whiskey and sat on the grass and told him everything that had happened. About Christine's arrest and conviction. About the restaurants thriving. About how we'd protected what he'd built. "I think Dad would be proud of you, Mom," Jason said. "You survived. You fought back. I think he'd be proud of both of us." We sat there as the sun set, and I thought about all the coffee I'd drunk over the years, never knowing some of it was laced with poison. All the conversations with Christine where she'd pretended to be my friend while plotting my death. All the moments I'd missed because I was too trusting to see the truth. But I also thought about resilience. About the strength it takes to rebuild trust after it's been shattered. About family and the bonds that actually matter, not the ones we assume are there. My name is Linda Morrison. I'm 65 years old. I own 3 successful restaurants in Portland, Oregon. I survived being poisoned by my best friend of 35 years. And I'm still here, still building, still trusting, because the alternative is to let her win. If there's a lesson in all this, it's simple. Trust your instincts. When something feels wrong, investigate. When someone's too perfect, too helpful, too good to be true, look closer. But also, don't let betrayal destroy your capacity for trust entirely. Because that's how the poison really wins, not by killing your body, but by killing your spirit. I make my own coffee now. Every morning, I grind fresh beans, heat the water to exactly 200 degrees, and pour it slowly over the grounds. It's a ritual that reminds me I'm in control of what I put in my body, what I allow into my life. And every morning, when I take that first sip of coffee that I know is safe, I'm grateful. Grateful for Jason, who believed me when it mattered. Grateful for Detective Chen and Tom Reeves, who helped us build the case. Grateful for the medical team that saved my life. Grateful for every ordinary day that follows. Because surviving your own murder, discovering your best friend killed your husband, And rebuilding your life from those ashes, it puts everything in perspective. The little annoyances don't matter anymore. The petty restaurant drama feels trivial. What matters is showing up, doing the work, loving the people who deserve it, and protecting what you've built. Christine is in prison now. Marcus is in prison. My husband is avenged. My business is secure. My son and I are closer than we've been in years. And me? I'm still here, still standing, still making coffee in my kitchen every morning. That's the real victory, not just surviving, but thriving, not just catching the villain, but refusing to let their evil change who you are at your core. Every day I wake up and choose trust again, carefully, thoughtfully, but I choose it. Because the opposite of trust isn't safety, it's isolation. And I didn't survive Christine's poison just to die slowly from loneliness and suspicion. So yes, I'm more careful now. I verify, I question, I pay attention to the quiet signs, the small inconsistencies, the feeling in my gut that something's off. But I also still open my restaurants every day, still hire new staff, still invest in people and believe in their potential. Christine didn't break me. She tried, with every poisoned cup of coffee and every forged document and every betrayal of 35 years of friendship. But I'm still here. My family is still here. And we're still building something worth protecting. That's how you survive. Not by becoming hard and closed off, but by becoming wise and discerning. By learning the difference between reasonable trust and blind trust. By protecting yourself without isolating yourself. I'm 65 years old, and I'm learning to trust again. Not the naive trust of my past, but something stronger, something earned, something real. And every morning, when I make my own coffee and know exactly what's in it, I remember that I have the power to choose what poisons I allow into my life. And I choose life. Every single day, I choose life.